All right. So now, moving on, let's talk about the first series, the biggest project till date in terms of money,
And
the most expensive one,
yeah.
and I think, I'm sorry to say, the biggest financial loss.
Mm. Another learning experience.
Another fun process.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Very very diverse group of people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and lots of people.
yeah, yeah.
It's just a fun process. But unfortunately, when the script starts changing too much, it gets lost in
I
translation.
was just about to say, I think that's the one project where the script just really, it was like snowballing as we were like working on it because there's so many things that weren't like totally nailed down from the beginning, and a lot of different changes that happened during the process. A lot of good surprises as well. Good surprises.
So we're talking about Akuma, by the way.
Yes,
Didn't
Akuma.
say the name.
Akuma.
Well, uh, I'm sure you remember this because you mentioned it earlier. That how Akuma kind of happened, how it all started.
Yeah, yeah. You're gonna have to remind me because I think we have different recollections about
So there was
that
this, yeah,
initial script.
there was a script which I wrote. It was called Devils,
Yeah, I remember that.
and it had most or half of the characters of Akuma, and I think we both mutually loved that script. It was definitely. I still think it's one of the best thrillers that I've written so far. Because I remember you asking me if I want to sell the script to you, and I was like, just make it.
Yeah,
Why buy it? Just make it.
yeah,
But I still remember that it is a costly film, and it was a film. It wasn't a series.
yeah,
It was written as a film. The characters were great. The story was good. Uh, had a little bit of action, but a lot more suspense, I would say.
yeah,
Uh, First time I had mythological characters, in a way, I would say.
yeah.
It's just that financially it was impossible to make that film. I'm not sure if
To
even
do it
today,
justice, I agree with that.
to do it right.
Yeah. I think it wasn't just that. In my opinion, it was also the way the script just evolved in the end. Because, well, first, the original script that there was it was really focused on the main character and the the religious, the religious aspect of that main character in the original script was really probably the biggest drawing point. But as it evolved into a series, I think the religious aspect was just one aspect of that character, and then you had other characters with other, you know, other issues, other things that they were dealing with that it just wasn't, there's no central thing that it really coalesced around. Um, but as far as entertainment, I think there was some entertaining parts. It has its moments. It does. I think it's worth seeing.
Anyone that wants to see it, it's on YouTube, or you can go to the website. You'll find the links. Uh, See, the problem was the whole process of making Akuma was to make a prequel for that script.
Mm, I see. Yeah.
The I don't know if you remember that. The whole intention was like, let's make a prequel, use the same
Yes.
characters,
Yes. I remember.
and then maybe if it makes money, then we make the other part, which is the
Mm,
better script. Or if not, then let's just make it as a film.
mm,
And I clearly remember the writing process for it because I think it was one of the longest writing process because you had to. write a certain amount to make a series. And there were many drafts, many versions, and also with the same characters, each character was different each time. Uh, and the main focus was on the villain because it's an anti-hero film.
Yeah.
Or a series.
Yeah.
And but with the main character being anti-hero, it still needs a villain that is always either smarter than him or more powerful than him. That's how I was thinking. It's just how things shape up around their lives.
Yeah.
Situations help him succeed, not
Yeah.
his skills.
Yeah. And I think that's where it started to come apart a little bit, because I remember the original script. I felt like the villain was, he was the main character, the protagonist, but I felt like the villain was himself, or his background, his religious upbringing was the real villain of that story. Even though we had, like, what was it, the mafia guy in that original script?
It was a Russian guy.
The Russian.
That's what I think.
Was he a mafia? Well,
He wasn't mafia. He wasn't mafia.
He was Russian.
He was Russian, but he was he outsmarts the main character every
Yes.
time.
Mm.
It's just at the end.
I'm thinking mafia guy because he's Russian. That's what I'm talking about. The background. I know originally I was looking at playing that main character, but I just didn't feel like it fit me very well, and also I wanted to take a step back and just look at the whole process from a whole a little bit more, and work on casting it, which was an adventure in and of itself.
That's a completely separate podcast
Yeah,
altogether.
Yes. There was some gems though. There were some gems, and the real story was behind the camera, but we're not gonna air anybody's dirty laundry here. But there were some real gems as far as like performances. I'm not so sure that John's personality fit the character as envisioned, even though there were some parts that he really, I'll say this, he really went for. He really went for it in his performances. But I think that his personality is just so eccentric that it kind of didn't meet the character where it was at.
I see it more as it required a little more acting experience.
Yeah, I agree.
Experience would have helped more rather than someone who has done a little bit of theater, and also, to be more specific, musical theater,
Yeah.
which is a completely different genre altogether.
Yeah.
Then coming into this character who's religious, who's psychotic, who has a lot of issues.
Yeah.
It's not a consistent character. It's not a likable character in any way possible. It's never meant to be likable.
Exactly. Speaking for myself, and I think I speak for, we enjoyed the time that we spent together, working on the project. It was a overall good experience for me.
No, I felt that the casting was definitely a big issue because there were a lot of shoes which needed to be filled.
Yeah, and I think that was the first one that we had the, well, maybe not so much, because I don't think Heather T did a lot as far as like behind the camera, but I think for that one, most of it was like, a lot of it was just like the performance, just performing. Yeah, but it also had the most locations as well, by far.
It was crazy when it came to the location. We traveled so much.
Yeah.
There were a lot of locations, rentals, parks, reshoots, rescheduling.
A little bit of dubbing.
Little bit of dubbing. a little bit of failed dubbing, which resulted into reshoots,
Yeah.
and then partying after the shoots.
So, you know what? It just occurred to me now, uh, as you were just describing it. Do you think it was a little bit ambitious
I
at the
think it,
time?
I think it was too ambitious. I don't think we were well equipped to execute that. It was too long. We didn't look through the fact that everyone that's involved actually has a day job.
Yeah. Yeah, that I think that was one of the major fact that if you can single out one thing that really affected that project, it was ambitious as far as time and commitment, and we all had other, priorities that superseded this project.
I do want to give one person the credit for investing all the time, never questioning anything. The only questions she had were related to the scenes. If I would say you have to be here at this time, she's like, okay, was Tina. Tina, Lilith,
Mm.
the main character, the female protagonist. Uh, she had a day job. She had other things, but she pretty much scheduled her life according to this.
Yeah,
There was not a single time when I said, "Oh, Tina, can you shoot this day?" She's like, "Yeah, sure, no problem."
yeah,
So, yeah, special shout out to Tina for being extremely accommodating. There were even times when, because Tina also took a second job on the set, which was makeup, because she's quite professional when it comes to makeup. She loves
yeah. Well,
makeup.
I don't think that was quite a job for her. I think that was more of
Passion.
a passion.
And then all the girls were relying on Tina. Okay, when Tina's gonna come, we're gonna do
Yeah.
makeup. Like, okay, you guys gotta learn how to do your own makeup. That's how independent filmmaking works.
Mm,
You do your makeup, and then you just learn your lines.
yeah.
But no, uh, a little bit about the casting process, because we had a very fun meeting when we were casting and then rehearsal. I have a lot of footage still. I didn't delete because it was very funny, some of the performances. Uh, sorry, Aaron.
There's some great. As a matter of fact, there is a what is it that's on YouTube? Is it
The making,
the
behind the
making
scenes.
of? It's actually pretty interesting in and of itself. So if you're listening to this, go and check that out. It might pique your interest in checking out a couple of episodes of Akuma.
Uh, no, specifically, I was coming to Aaron.
Ah,
Uh, so the main villain, besides John, who plays Sam, Aaron plays Ozzy. Aaron and Kyle, there were two people that had no acting experiences before this. They don't know how to face the camera, and Aaron was super nervous. When I remember the first time I told Aaron about I want to cast him for this. I wasn't sure it was gonna be a movie at that time or a show, a series. We were at a party, and that's we knew each other. We didn't know each other that well, and somehow because the Russian character that was written in the other part, I was like, that guy is very smart. This guy is very strong. His personality has he has this badass look.
yeah.
He's a good-looking guy. He's a super muscular guy, but in reality, he's the nicest guy you'll ever talk to. He's so soft-spoken. He's so polite.
You just reminded me at the one location we were at, and he had the gun and the ice cream. I can't do it as good as you.
He has this chalk bar magnum, and he's licking it at the same time. He has a gun in the other hand, and he's like, "If you leave me, I'll kill you."
That should have been in the that should have been in the
That was
scene.
during the rehearsal.
Yeah, that should have been in the scene. That was classic.
But yeah, no, because Aaron was the only guy who I used to have a long chat with before every scene. And I will be honest, I wasn't sure the way he started how his performance is going to turn out. But the most talked performance amongst the people I know that saw Akuma. Like, man, this guy is like really good. It seems like it's written for him. I'm like, it is written for him, but
Yeah.
this is something I always told him. I'm like, this person praised you, that person praised you, or
Yeah.
because
Yeah, he
you
did a
were
great job.
nervous. He was nervous as well. He was shaking the first time he came when he did the first rehearsal. I don't know if you remember how
I
he couldn't
remember.
stand straight.
I remember.
Like, everyone's watching me, everyone's judging me. I can't act.
I remember we were doing the one. We were rehearsing the one scene with, who was it, Kelsey? Tina. Yeah, and yeah, he was quite nervous, but he did great. And that just goes to show, it just takes putting forth a little bit of effort, and then you'll fall into it. You'll fall into it at some point. That's not to take anything away from anyone that's studied the craft of acting and know about it, but you can you do have something to give, something to offer.
I think Akuma itself is a great case study in terms of independent filmmaking because every possible challenge independent filmmakers can face, we faced during that
Well, that
series.
brings up the question: do you think it's a good thing to be so ambitious and have so many come up against so many challenges, or to stay in your lane, or not so much stay in your lane, but do what you know you can do, or it's better to reach a little bit above and have the result of what Akuma came out to be.
You can be ambitious if you think you can afford to be ambitious. At that time, I think financially it was possible, but I think it should have been studied a little better in terms of like, okay, there's so many people involved. It requires a lot of filming days. It requires a lot of traveling. Uh, and it's just that the challenges actually I see started before we even started filming because we personally, the two of us, we sat in the same room and talked about it. I remember you came with the notebook and you took a lot of notes before you started casting. And the amount of people that changed, I
Yeah.
think, just the main characters changed so many times.
Yeah. And what was and another very very, I won't say big challenge, but another challenge was that the characters actually the they continue to expand. You know, it, there's I think we had at least an additional 4 or 5 characters in the end because we added
Kelsey?
Kelsey, Ramona.
Ramona's character was written.
Yes,
It was someone
yes.
else that was playing it,
Who
as
else?
far as I remember.
Was
The two additions.
Lawton's, was his written?
Lawton was already there because that character, Katie, is
Yeah.
also in the other script. He's in both
Yes.
scripts. So
Yeah.
the characters that were added, Kelsey came for 2 scenes. She only had 2 scenes, but she became a principal eventually. And Kyle was added later.
I was gonna say Kyle's changed a bit because it was a photographer at first.
Kyle was supposed to play Danny's part, but then we got Danny because Kyle did not have the time at that point. Then later, when Kyle was free, we did need to fill in a few gaps for some issues that we ran into.
Yeah.
And the script had to change again, maybe for the 17th time.
That's what I mean. It was just like it just really kind of snowballed, and we were more in a mode of just get it done, get to the finish line.
I remember, and I think personally, this was a bit of a painful thing for me. At that time, I didn't mention this, but later when I spoke to people that were involved, I kind of honestly told them this thing. I was like, we had a very good start. We started off very well. The earlier scenes we shot, the first 4 or 5 days, everything was good. From there, things went downhill. And midway, I knew that this is the biggest issue was the script was constantly changing because of the schedules. So if character A was supposed to do something, it went to character B.
Yeah.
Then if character B was busy, it would go to character C.
Yeah.
That's how no one's character remained consistent. And that's how Kelsey got lucky, I would say,
Yeah.
that most of the burden went to her. And then she came for like 2 scenes and then she started enjoying it. She's
I
like, okay.
remember very specifically when we were shooting in the park one evening, and at the end where we shot the scene where Kelsey and Tina uh, were talking about
The climax.
yeah, the climax, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm not so sure that this is where this should land.
By the way, we shot 2 different endings.
Endings. I remember that, and
that was the second day.
yeah,
That was the second day of
that
shoot.
was the second day. Would you, if you had the time, the resources, would you do Akuma again? Would you want to try it again?
See, there are only 2 thrillers we've made, Akuma and Obsession. As a story, I think Obsession is more superior. That's why I would definitely go with Obsession, not Akuma, because Akuma just became a mess at the end. If you ask me personally, I don't know what it's about as well, although I wrote it. I have no idea what it's about. I was just like, okay, this person is busy. That person should get the scene. You, are you free? Okay, come. So, what costume do you need? And then I remember we were also buying costumes constantly.
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
okay, what's your size? Okay, send me all the measurements.
So the moral of the lesson here, folks, is if you're doing independent filmmaking, this is what you're going to have to deal with. These are the struggles of independent filmmaking that we're describing here. So take note.
If Akuma did not have that many characters, I think it would have been scrapped. Because there was an option of switching between characters. That's why it was like, okay, you're busy, you come. But
yeah.
again, in this whole process, everyone did a good job. Everyone invested a lot of time. But there are, like I said, Tina is one. We have 17 days of shoot. We did 17 days. We shot Akuma. And every time we shot, I have a schedule, which is on my hard drive for each film, including dates, what date, who was there, who wasn't. Out of 17 days, Tina shot for 15. Tina was pretty much always there. The only time she wasn't there because that day we shot at John's apartment.
Yeah.
Because she had no work there. And then later when we did, when only John's scenes were supposed to be reshot, so it only required John. But Tina was always there. And then special thanks to Kyle Baker, the artist, real life artist. Guys, you should check out his website too. You'll find the link below. Kyle, I remember, I was talking to Kyle. I was like, man, I know it's not panning out well. I know there are issues. And we're at the point where we have to basically just stop and restart everything from scratch. And he was like, well, I was supposed to be in it before. Is there anything I can do to help? He's like, are you free? He was like, yeah, I have these 3 days available. I was like, okay, you're in. And then when he came, and his track, I know it is a little separate from the whole thing, but it stands out. And he gave his studio, everything is shot in his real studio. All the work, all the paintings you will see there, all the drawings you will see there are his real paintings and drawings. So he kind of saved us a little bit.
Well, that's what you need for any project like that. For any projects like what we've done so far, because, I mean, as we were saying before, everyone has commitments. And so if they're not really, interested or really, involved, it's going to make it that much tougher. So I think for Akuma, generally speaking, everyone was involved. It's just that the timing, trying to work out so many people's schedules was very tough because of the commitments they have. And it was the project where we've had a large cast. And when you have that many people, that's just one of the issues. If it's not their primary thing, that's one of the issues you're going to run up against.
That's true. That's very true. Even the fact that all the people that were involved, they had different working schedules.
Yeah.
Everyone's schedule was different. Everyone lived in different parts of the city.
Yep.
And we shot in a particular neighborhood. We had different locations, but they were all in the same neighborhood in a way because it's a pretty big neighborhood.
Yeah.
So, but moving on, what was your favorite scene from Akuma?
Oh, man.
Mine is very predictable. So.
Wow, there's so many gems from Akuma. Let's see. I will say I'm thinking of the one with John, but that's not my favorite. I would say the one where John and Kelsey are on the bridge.
That is definitely not my favorite scene.
Okay, fine. It's not my favorite, but it was a favorite one to shoot. It was a favorite one to shoot.
I won't even say that's my favorite one to shoot.
It was my favorite one to
no.
shoot. What was my favorite scene from Akuma? It's so many. Let's see. You're going to have to come back to me on that. It'll come to me. You go first.
My favorite scene is an unintentionally funny scene, but also special thanks to Mr. Terry Watkins Jr. That he was there for one scene only. We just needed him for one day. And
you're going to have to cut that part out, man, because I laughed so hard.
It's not going anywhere. There are many reasons behind why I love that scene.
Goodness.
I'm sorry, Kelsey, that was your introductory scene. Your character was supposed to be introduced. But what he did in that one scene, and I didn't shoot that scene, by the way. I was not there.
That is the funniest scene.
I was not there when that scene was shot.
Oh, you know it was even funnier.
I'm coming to that.
But in my defense... No, you go ahead.
So, I'm sorry. You're sitting here and I'm saying this.
Go for it.
But just because I have literally told this story to every single person that I've talked about Akuma with. So, I'm not there. We devised a method this one day because we had to finish a lot of scenes. So we're like, okay, you go with one crew, I will go with the second crew. Let's just go shoot. So, I set up all the cameras. I gave these guys all the equipments. They went to shoot. I'm shooting in a completely different place. I'm doing a different scene altogether. And coincidentally, we finished at the same time. I was like, oh, nice. Yeah, it took us 30 minutes. It took you guys 30 minutes. So we're working at a good pace today. Usually it would take longer. So I turn on the camera and I'm checking the scene. So take one. I see rehearsal. I'm like, oh, okay, so you also recorded some BTS. Fun, nice. So I move on to the second take. More BTS. Great. Third scene. Okay, still BTS. Fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. But the thing I noticed at the end, he's like, okay, are you guys ready? They're like, yeah, we're ready. Camera, sound, action. The camera turns off. It's a cut right there. And then
yes.
It comes back. Okay, guys, that's a cut. That's the best take you guys have ever given so far. Everything is like that. So basically what Kenny was doing, he was hitting record while they were rehearsing, and he was cutting it.
Indeed, I was.
when,
Indeed, I was.
when they were acting, when they were performing.
And I have to admit, we missed out on some of the best takes.
I'm still satisfied.
Because they did okay. They did okay. But some of the better takes were the ones that I missed recording.
That's what I heard in the BTS.
Yes. And even better than that, there was some good ambient sound that I missed out on as well, because there were guys in the background that were behind us with these, and you could hear them talking in Chinese, and they were like, "What are they doing? What's going on here?" So that was, we missed out on that as well.
So that was one highlight, but
that was a highlight. But I have to mention this really quickly. I didn't laugh when I was shooting it. I didn't laugh until I saw it later. Terry's that just had me. Yes, I had tears laughing at that. So.
I remember when I saw it on big screen later. I was like, man, this again. That was one scene, and the takes, they were all different. Nothing was consistent in that performance. And his character was supposed to be a pimp, but it was a very unique pimp. He was very comedic. It wasn't something that I had in my mind. And I had never met Terry before this. I didn't know who Terry was. I didn't have I think I had seen his picture, but that was the first time I met him. And he's a super funny guy. He's a super funny guy.
Yeah, really cool guy.
And I think that translates on screen as well. And I was like, okay, it's not how I imagine it to be, but I still like it. I still love it, actually. But then I remember Kelsey telling me, hey, this scene is not shot properly, on a reshoot it because it's supposed to be my introduction scene. Like,
no, he did. Kelsey was upset because he stole the show.
Yeah, he stole the show there.
He really stole the show in that scene. And I think that scene is one of the times where you have something that's unexpected come out, and it comes out really well. Yeah. And that's one of the really the great parts of filmmaking is when something happens and it just comes out of nowhere, and you're like, this is nice, this is good, this is gold. So,
and one more thing about Terry, like I mentioned, I did not know Terry. I had never met him until the day we were shooting, but Kenny knew Terry very well. And this is also a lesson when it comes to indie filmmaking, that you might encounter these situations where you don't know the actor, you've never met them, you've talked to them on the phone, but the first time you see them act or perform is actually when you meet them. So you don't know what to expect. You don't know how that guy is. And on a telephone call, I don't know if he's a funny guy, but when I met him, I was just like, dude, I was just giggling on the side. It's like everything he's saying is gold.
Yeah, and he's just a pretty cool all-around dude.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, didn't get to work with him again, at least
and
up to
I really
this point.
wanted to. I really wanted to.
Up to this point. So, but who knows what the future holds? No one knows.
But that and the other scene, sorry, Aaron, again. The lovemaking scene we shot with Aaron and Tina, and I was the only person in the room. Before every time we shot, I would call all the actors the night before. And I knew with this scene, I had to, it will be a longer telephone call than the usual. But the thing was that I was expecting Tina to be a little more uncomfortable with the way it was. Turns out, Tina's like, oh, it's cool, it's fine.
Yeah, I would not have expected Tina to be uncomfortable.
She's like,
not
it's
even
okay.
a little bit.
And then I talked to Aaron. Man, I don't know what to do. I can't do this. It's against my morals. I'm like, dude, don't worry. No one's going to be in the room. I'll be the only person. And you guys will have wine. You both will be on the same level. You get drunk, you get tipsy. I will be giving instructions. I'm not even gonna make any eye contact. I'm just looking through the viewfinder. That's it.
Yeah.
It ends there. And we shot that scene for around an hour, hour and a half because I got a lot of different angles.
Yeah.
And the funny thing in the BTS was they both got tipsy at one point because I was getting the angles and all. So it took like 30 minutes just doing that. And then by the time Aaron's like tipsy, like, man, we gotta get down to some action. I'm getting drunk now.
Oh yeah.
So that was a uncomfortably fun scene to shoot.
No, watching you shoot part of that scene had me crying laughing because you had the camera you had the camera on the gimbal, and it's like a light bulb went over your head, and you went, and then you pulled that cover off, and I was like, what? And I am dying laughing.
The best part was
It's like you were sneaking underneath. I was like, that looked a little perverted, but that's okay. You do your thing.
Tina started off really well with a very good question with Aaron. I don't know if you remember this at the beginning of the scene. So when I poured wine for them and there was like just chat, just show as if you guys are having a good time. And the first question Tina has, like, so tell me about your family. It's like, I don't want to talk about my family when I'm making love.
Oh yeah. Hey, I can agree with that 100%. I would agree with that 100%. Oh yeah, what's your mom doing right now? Oh, before you stick your tongue down my throat, tell me a little bit about your family reunion. No thanks. But you know what? They both like loosened up around a little bit of alcohol. I noticed it. What about the scene that we had a really tough time getting the shot in the restroom?
But
Those guys had to think I was crazy. With what was it? What was it like? Four of us? Four guys in a restroom. Four foreigners in a restroom.
Four foreigners, all wearing a black T-shirt and a camera. One with blood all over his body.
Yeah.
And okay, for anyone that thinks Kenny is not in Akuma, Kenny does make a cameo appearance in that one scene.
Yes.
In the bathroom.
Yep. Sure enough.
So we were wearing a uniform, basically, I would say at that point.
Yep.
We all had black T-shirts on, and then it was a public bathroom. It was supposed to be at a private bathroom at a school, but because of time, so we couldn't travel. So we were like, okay, it's a quick scene. Let's just do it in a public bathroom. And I'm inside with the camera. So Kenny's outside at the door, stopping people from using the bathroom.
Yeah.
And some weird Chinese guy walks in, and he's trying to talk in Chinese, which he can't at all.
I use my 5 words of Chinese. But you know what? They're looking at me like, what is wrong with you, man?
And he still walks in, and he sees me with the camera, and
And
there are
the
two guys over there.
Yeah.
So that was a funny scene. Although that scene later, what happened when we went back wasn't that pleasant. I won't say what happened.
Yes.
But we had actually plenty of unpleasant moments as well. But I won't get into that. Some arguments, fights, some scary ones as well, which I don't think you were around for that. It was a very
Fortunately.
Yeah, fortunately for you, unfortunate for me, because I was just like, I'm all alone in between dealing with them.
Oh, yes. Oh, but I heard all about them, so.
And then
it's better to hear about them than to experience them.
Unfortunately, I was there for most of those fights. For all of them. But no, like all in all, good experience, good learning experience. We learned what not to do, how not to make a film. And like I said, it was quite ambitious, quite expensive. And I think even if you have the money, you should still really see the people you're getting involved in the project, how much time they can invest, because you don't always get a Tina or a Kelsey.
Yeah. I mean, for a cast that size, I think with the way that we work and the way that we shoot, it would be almost impossible. Even though uh, it's it's something that might be in the future, it's almost impossible to get everybody on the same page in the way that it's going to make the film what you envision it to be. But with that said, it was a good move to go back to the original way
Uh,
of
one
shooting.
one more thing that you did not experience, but I did, was the screening. You weren't there because you had already seen
I
it,
had already gone to
and
Chongqing at that time.
by the time there were a lot of issues already, which we won't get into,
Yes, and
and we had a screening, and I was genuinely at that time I still did not tell anyone that I know it's gone wrong. I know it's a disaster. Most of them were there. Majority was there. Uh, and yeah, I remember you know how the place is with the
mm,
screen. So I was sitting at the back of the room because I really did not have the guts to face anyone at that point
mm,
and say full-heartedly that okay, it's gone wrong. I'm sorry. And I got a lot of feedback from everyone. I was like, yeah, I know the problem. I know
mm,
this problem. I know that problem. And some people, some of maybe
yeah,
one or two,
yeah,
they get into too much details even
yeah,
when they don't know what they're
yeah.
talking about. So
Well,
it was a experience.
when Nas described it to me as interesting, I was like, okay, that said pretty much everything.
See, never mind. No, because everyone see there were a few scenes which I knew have gone wrong, and everyone knew which scenes are completely gone wrong. They're quite obvious. You know when you see it. But then there were, I think, see, the climax, the final meeting between Aaron and John, it had to be quite superior. It had to really stand out. But what happened was the moment which everyone loves was what happens after that conversation when it goes in flashback. But I think more than the flashback, mm, it's the music.
Yeah. The music is probably, if not the most standout aspect of Akuma, it's one of the most standout. It's when you hear the music, it makes you think of Akuma.
Yeah, and that track specifically at that point because I love that track,
Mm.
and I wanted to use it at the end. Unfortunately, when it was edited, I knew when it's gonna release, people are not gonna get that far. That's the thing. That's the reality with OTT that y- you have way too many options. You just have to press one button and then you're on the next movie or show.
Well, I have to ask. Do you want to tell everyone how Akuma did when it went up on that platform?
I think it's quite self-explanatory when I said it was the worst in terms of lost a lot of money or most money till date.
Mm.
Uh, didn't get anything in return, but
And
this is a lesson. Sorry, I'm cutting you off here. This is a lesson, and I told everyone that the first episode has gone wrong. I'm not gonna get into the reasons why it went wrong because then some names are gonna come up. But the first episode went completely wrong. It starts picking up actually from the second episode, midway second episode, and then third, fourth, fifth. Fourth and fifth episode, I still stand by those two episodes because there's so much happening. It becomes fun at that point. But your first three episodes are not that strong, so then
mm,
it's gonna crash. And yeah, when it released, when I got the numbers from the platform, there was a lesson there that people did not go beyond the first episode. You can see with the watch time and the amount of clicks. It had a very high click rate. It had a very low sustaining rate.
So the amount of time they weren't finishing.
They weren't going through the first episode.
Well, I recall that a couple of the episodes, because it was like what, 6 episodes?
It was 5 episodes. The
Five.
sixth one was a BTS.
And wasn't a couple of them removed from the platform before?
No, what happened was it was initially written as a 6 episode thing. But when we ran into the issues while filming, uh, it reduced to 4 and then it went to 5 because a significant chunk did not make it to the final cut. Almost an hour of footage did not make it to the final cut because it wasn't that good.
Mm.
It had performance related issues. There were too many problems and it wasn't good at all.
Mm.
And then what happened was this whole like click rate being high, sustaining rate being low happened. And then I won't get into the platform thing because that kind of gives away what platform it was.
Yeah.
We can't talk about that. Eventually we took it down and then it's available on YouTube. It's a different version. It's even shorter than the original one because there's no point of just keeping it. If someone wants to watch it, likes it, sure, give it a shot.
Well, I'm going to make a bold prediction here.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to become a cult classic.
By the way, on YouTube, it's been watched by more people than it actually was on the platform when it released.
Okay.
So I don't know. It's because of the small audience I have, or if it's because again BMPCC comes at the end. It's shot on that. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's been watched by a lot more people on YouTube than it was. In fact, the first episode, I think, it's not the most viewed video on the channel, but I think it's been seen by 1,500 people for a channel that's subscribed by 400 something people. But then the final episode is being watched by 500 people, so you can see the same issue is kind of following.
So when the channel reaches 500,000, that's still going to be the most watched video on the channel. Mark my words.
The most watched video is trailer of Charlene. The second most watched trailer is also Charlene. The third most watched is The Journey.
I wonder why.
And the fourth most watched video is the third trailer of Charlene.
Right.
And then Journey again. And then Beijing Diaries.
So that means we're segueing right here?
Yes, now we're going to the game changer.
Okay. As we prepare to segue, can we take a really quick break?
Sure.
And come right back because I got quite a bit to say about this one.